Hey, Gutfoxx here. Today we're going to talk about the stats I like to see added to the game of Madden. And I want to hear what attributes and traits you all think should be in the game. Let me know in the comments below. Right before I get started, I want to hear from you guys. Most of all, these are just kind of my ideas I'm going to throw out at you. The sponsor today is Stat Overload. Since the only doctor word I know, when I fantasize about being a doctor, people get sick of me saying stat. Nurse, get me that coffee stat. And that's how you get hot coffee thrown at you by your girlfriend. But let's move on. At what point are too many stats too many? When do we get close enough to the real product and more would just confuse people? That's not something we're going to answer today, but it should be on our minds. Like you. You were always on my mind. But let's get off right away with snapping stats. We'll start with something that's kind of useless in MUT. This long snapper position. You just put your center there. Why? So there are long snappers in MUT, obviously. On each team, long snapper gets a card, probably. And why have these? Why can't we have a snapping stat? So, like, if you move a guard to center, you might get a bad snap. I mean, that's part of the strategy. So you got to be experienced at the position in order to be a good snapper, really. 18% of fumbles are due to bad snaps on QB center exchanges. And my source is Football Perspective. I'll put it in the description. 18% of the game's fumbles should be bad center quarterback snaps. I know they did some variation with quarterback and having a leap for balls this year on bad snaps, and that's kind of cool. But yeah, the snapping stats, long snapping stats, there is no reason for this, and so yeah, hopefully that's something they can implement. It might be a little bit too much sim for people, but man, it's not about having fun. It's about simulating football. I'm just kidding. It's both. So along with that same line, kickoff coverage. We got kick returners, which is a nice thing here. Why isn't there like a kickoff coverage stat like for the gunner, like how fast they can get off blocks running downfield, get between double teams there? But that would of course make us, I think along with this, adjusting lineups and special teams players, since you can't like assign players to special teams. Your gunners are really your cornerback 3 and 4 on your depth chart, which is just crazy because if you come out and dime flat most of the time, like a lot of people do, these guys will be tired after kickoffs and punts and whatnot. All right, and you know, I think they should next expand the pass rush moves. You know, instead of power and finesse only with ratings, give ratings to each individual move. So now that we know traits, bull rush, the swim, spin, but I mean, there's so many other moves in football. There's the speed rush, the chop, the rip. These are things I've actually seen in testing these things. The club, and then like the counter moves. Those things can get ratings instead of just the one finesse to power moves. And you know, why don't I guess I also don't get why don't they make the attributes in the game that are hidden in MUT a stat instead of a yes/no? Like, how well does the QB throw the ball under pressure, sense it coming? That could be out of 99. How well he fights for your extra yards? Again, that could be a stat. Some can remain traits like clutch, but some should switch to attributes. And on that topic, why have the attribute big hitter if hit power is already in the game? If that's for the CPU only, then I guess that would make sense. Like, say the CPU is laying the hit. But why have a big hitter thing if it's going to add to hit power? Why don't you just make it 1? It seems like it's too much saying the same thing. Another stat we could add, gap integrity. You know, this could fit under discipline. They added the discipline trait this year. As I'll exit out of Ultimate Team since we can't see traits here. We have to go to regular rosters or muthead.com. Basically, the gap integrity is how well your D lineman or linebacker plays their gap or role on your defense. You know, this is a larger component, and a big complaint that I have with the O-line, D-line interactions. Often D lineman and O lineman face up on a run helmet to helmet. As here, let me get into managed rosters. You know, they're face to face. There's no gaps. Like D lineman doesn't have a gap one way or the other. The running back can go either way on that D lineman until, like, you know, sometimes you're surprised and the D lineman pops out at you because that was the gap they had or something. And instead of reading butts like you do in football, you know, in football, D lineman will try and maintain his shoulder on an offensive lineman to maintain his gap. You don't want to, you know, chest up to the O lineman. That means you're defeated as a D lineman. And yeah, obviously the O lineman will try to leverage to either push him out of that gap or turn him away from the gap to get the hole for the running back. So here we are at player traits on Brown. Like, so this stuff, drops open passes, I don't really know, but utilize swim move for D linemen. This stuff could be swim, like I said earlier, out of 99. Again, a lot of this stuff could be out of 99, like their stats are. But, alright, for the offensive linemen, how well they can drive the guy away, like a push stat. You know, a lot of people say it's strength, but I think it's strength combined with, although strength is right now, I'm not so sure it plays a big deal, as my testing earlier in the year has been. You know, EA people have come out and said strength does play a deal, but when I see it, I'll be okay with it. Right now, I haven't seen it out of all the testing that I've seen done. But yeah, no. So push is like how well you can drive the guy back. Like Larry Ann's got a great push. Usually, you know, it is easier to drive linemen sideways than it is back. Although in Madden, it's like you run an inside zone, a defensive tackle's getting pushed back 5 yards one-on-one. That just doesn't happen really in the NFL. Defensive tackles don't get pushed back 5 yards one-on-one. 2-on-1, yes, they'll get pushed back. But it's easier to push linemen sideways than it is back. Maybe the O-line double team, you know, the double team rating, how well they make the double team blocks and move off of them. And again, this can go along with zone blocking and how well the linemen work together in zone blocking and to move on to the second level instead of just run blocking as one. It should, because that can offer up new schemes, like whether you're good at power running versus zone blocking as an offensive lineman. So that way you can get them for your certain scheme. If you like pulling guards and power running, get linemen for the power running. If you like the zone run, then get linemen for the zone run. I know they try to do that there with styles, but those styles seem random. And you know, some of the best long pass wide receivers have like ground pound and short pass styles. Anyways, let's move on. You know, pass blocking's, you know, let's get to that. It can be one stat like it is, or two stats like dealing with speed moves and power moves to counter those things we talked about earlier. I liked how they tried to split it up with footwork and strength for running pass block, but I think they can make it more descriptive if, you know, they deal with speed moves versus power moves. About like maybe hands, how well they fight with defensive linemen for hand quality maybe. For defensive backs, they should have specific attributes. Instead of this play balls in the air, aggressive, conservative, balanced, they should have specific attributes out of 99 that determine how well he plays the SWAT, gets the pick, or plays the man. That way you can mold your squad either to always go for the SWAT, or if you're the gambling type, the pick. So, like, instead of having to guess, like, plays the ball aggressive, I think that means he'll go for the pick more, so I should try to go for the pick. Have it be actually descriptive about what they want. For wide receivers, like Antonio Brown here, alligator arms, or something else titled along those lines. You know, it could be a trait, but basically, that wide receivers, you don't want them going across the middle, because they're going to try to avoid the hit more than they're going to go for the ball across the middle. So I think alligator arms or something along those lines could play, like courage maybe, would be a good descriptor for it. For quarterbacks, I've seen these, I'm sure you have, ducks. How often they'll just throw an absolute duck on his own, or like Mike Vick, lot cost me a game in overtime on stream, 28-28. Had a wide open Antonio Brown. This guy running down the seam. He threw a duck to the linebacker. Not pressured, not moving his feet. So make that a stat. Don't make it random. Well, obviously make it random with the stat, but have a descriptor of it. Who throws more ducks? And maybe also along with that, when being hit by, when a quarterback's being hit, rather than the throw the ground animation that we all see right now, throw up a duck animation. How often they'll throw a duck instead of keeping it into the chest and taking a sack or throwing it into the ground. I also got some here from people I asked about it. If you guys want me to, if you're listening to this and you want me to, call out who you are, let me know. I'll put it in the description. So one is bring back the Old Spice swagger attribute. It didn't really do anything, of course, but it would be cool to have a swagger stat that triggered better touchdown dances or showboat celebrations for your guys. Just purely cosmetic. Everybody wants cosmetic things, uniforms, alternate uniforms, cool stadiums, all that stuff. We don't have the alternate uniforms this year, but it would be cool to have something like that, the swagger rating. I got suggested the strip rating. So if players like Peanut Tillman is great at stripping the ball out of players' hands. He's been famous for it. So having something like that you can show out of 99, hey, this guy, you really want to press that right bumper, try and strip the ball. You know, it's kind of like hit power's cousins. So another one, rival ratings. Players' ratings fluctuate based on if they're rivals on the field. Maybe have it on the traits page here. Have a list of like 3 different names. Probably max, that either increase or decreases a player rating if they're on the field. Like if they've traditionally been really bad against a player, like Antonio Brown, he's not really bad against anyone at all. I guess Vincent Perfect, he just gave him a concussion. That was pretty bad. But for example, so yeah, they either play better or worse against certain players. Or they have a history. That'd be kind of cool. But also you could possibly group ratings, like famous secondary, like Area 51 for Sean Taylor and LaRon Landry. You put those 2 together, they'll get a boost, like a real life cool boost being together. Have that also like different, like a group rating down here, then have a different name. If you get all 4 of Seattle's defensive backfield together, or greatest show on turf. We got most of those guys in Mutt right now. But another one, a playoff rating was suggested to me. Like in regular season, Eli plays okay, his regular ratings. But in the playoffs for Mutt, and this could be taken advantage of, just bringing him in for the playoffs, have a little bit certain boost, like a +1 across the board, or kind of like the clutch, but just in playoff games. But yeah, let me know in the comments below what new set or traits you think should be in the game. These are just some random ones I was thinking of, and others, of course. But yeah, thanks for watching. Call to action.